Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever episode of Full Court Talk, episode number 1, the fourth corner of Diamond Talk, which Jeep DeCiccio, myself, Brendan DeVenney, and Will Brienza have taken charge here and have created at the University of Mount Union. Episode number 1 today of Full Court Talk on this frigid, just miserable Friday evening in Alliance. Classes were canceled, so that's a bonus for today. It was really a 4-day week coming back from vacation. But this is episode number 1. It'll be myself, Brendan DeVenney, hosting alongside Will Brienza, sports enthusiast as well, covering everything NBA. And when we get into March, it will be March Madness as well, college basketball. But right now, in the heart of the NBA season, we will discuss today the Christmas Day games, since those were over break and we were not here to kick this thing off. Well, let's talk about those Christmas Day games, the 5 games that were on December 25th, and there were a bunch of really entertaining games. They started off with the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards, Kyrie Irving and John Wall both going at it. Wizards ended up taking this game up in Boston, but it was a game where the Celtics, they were hanging in there, just they could not grab the lead, and it was a really disappointing loss for Boston.
Yeah, you said they couldn't hang in there, and part of the reason of that was Boston having 17 turnovers to Washington's 9. Sloppy basketball all around for Celtics, and for them to be that close, it's something Washington needs to watch out for, especially if this is a future playoff matchup.
You're absolutely right. Bradley Beal finished with 25 points for Washington. The Wizards right now are an interesting team. Stephen A. Smith this past week talked about it on First Break, how they'll win games against the Celtics, but then they'll lose games against like the Utah Jazz and Sacramento Kings. Kind of an inconsistent ball club right now. They're in the playoff discussion, but the Wizards, what is your take right on them right now? Just hanging around, not really taking charge of the season.
Well, you said it. I mean, they're in the playoff discussion, so that's good. If they make it, they are winning against the teams that are also in the playoff discussion, so that can always be a plus for them. They're losing to the teams that are in the bottom 7 of each conference. I mean, you can't do that, especially if you want to be a playoff team, but if you're going to win, make it the teams that count and make it the teams that you could see in the playoffs.
But the number 1 team right now in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, 34-10. Kyrie Irving, right now he's probably looking at the Cavs and like talking about, man, did I make the right decision? Moving on, going into my own team, leading the Celtics right now, 34-10, number 1 in the Eastern Conference. Well, let's talk about the Celtics right now because they started off the season hot, going on that long win streak. Was it 16 games in a row?
Something like that.
Just crazy. Everyone looked at Kyrie Irving like, man, he can control his own team. But Gordon Hayward went down, obviously, in game number 1. And right now, in the middle of the season, in the summer and January, they're kind of figuring out who they are, what type of team they're made to be. And in that Christmas Day game, we saw Kyrie Irving lead the Celtics with 20 points in 34 minutes. So he's playing a lot of time on the court. Take right now on the Celtics, do you think they'll get better or just stay around right now?
When I saw Hayward go down in that first game, I was like, there goes the Celtics season. I mean, they get Hayward, Irving, and then they already had Horford, and that's their big 3.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, why rush him back?
Sure.
I mean, the way they're playing, Tatum steps up. He's the obvious leader of Rookie in the Year, in my opinion, right now. And why would you rush Gordon Hayward back? Maybe in the playoffs bring him back because you're going to need that veteran. I mean, all these young guys, they don't have the playoff experience that Kyrie, who's been in the finals, 3 times, and Hayward doesn't even have that much playoff experience, but he has that veteran presence.
Yeah.
And for Tatum and Brown to be leading a team alongside Kyrie Irving, that might hurt them, and that's when you would bring Hayward back. But right now, they're playing like they're the best team in the East, and they are.
Yeah, Brad Stevens kind of working with a new team this year. He does have playoff experience, but not to the extent where you can win an Eastern Conference Finals series, something that just they haven't been able to do against LeBron James and the Cavs, which we will get to in a little bit since we are in Ohio. But let's move on to the Western Conference right now. Oklahoma City and Houston, they battled it out on Christmas Day as well. The Thunder came out on top. But this is an interesting rivalry kind of going on right now. Russell Westbrook and his team with Carmelo Anthony and company, Paul George, against a newly formed duo in James Harden and Chris Paul in Houston. That was an interesting game that we saw on Christmas Day. The Thunder came away with the win, but Houston, they looked good as well. Do you think that this could be a potential Western Conference semifinals?
More than definitely. It could even be a first-round matchup. I mean, if Oklahoma City, they've been sitting around hovering around the 6th seed. Say Houston falls down behind San Antonio and gets that 3rd seed. That's a first-round matchup. It could definitely be a second-round matchup. If not, one of them snubs Golden State and they play in the Western Conference Finals. It seems like the Big Three in OKC is finally picking up. Game right here.
Finally finding their way to win.
This game right here was a big one. I mean, all three had 20 or more points. So this one was really a defining one, especially since it's such a good team. And they shot the ball at 54% compared to Houston's 43%, and that's ultimately why they won this ball game.
Yeah, Thunder now, they've lost their past 3, but still 22-20 in the Western Conference. 6. That's 6 in the Western Conference. Houston, they've won their past 2. They're 29-11. We can talk about Golden State in the future, but I think right now, which we'll talk about right now with the Christmas Day matchup against the Cavs. Golden State 33-9 now, haven't even lost double digits, whereas the Cavs, they're struggling right now. But we saw some promise in that Christmas Day game against the Warriors out in Oakland. Cleveland, they came so close, the hard-fought battling their way back in the second half. They had a rough third quarter, but they battled their way back in the fourth quarter. But there was an incident in this ball game everyone knows about, how the refs blew 3 calls in the final minute against Kevin Durant, including a game-changing call, LeBron James going up for the layup, but gets fouled by Kevin Durant. Refs didn't call that foul. Instead, they called it a block by KD. This was the first of many missed calls by the officials in the span of a week. It continued up until New Year's Eve. This has been something going on right in the NBA we haven't seen in the past. Players and officials getting heated during the games. Players not happy with their calls. LeBron James has even said he would understand. He would prefer officials explaining missed calls to the players instead of officials saying, "Oh, it was nothing," or "I didn't see anything." Will, what is your take on this divisiveness between the players and referees going on right now and the NBA?
The officials got to fix it. I mean, you're there to call the game fair, and if you have to go back and say, "Oh, we missed 3 calls," that's just ridiculous. You're getting paid to do this. And what I don't get is the fact that you can't change a foul call on a replay system. The point of the replay system is to fix the mistakes of the officials.
Right.
So changing it to a foul call, isn't that fixing their mistake? They missed the call, you fix it. And if that's the first thing they have to do to fix it, then so be it. I mean, that's something they need to talk about this offseason and vote on, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I think after Christmas, that week of Christmas, New Year's Eve, there was also a game, I think it was up in Minnesota. A player stepped on the foul line and ended up going up for the game-winning layup. Instead, it was out of bounds. I think it was Minnesota. They shouldn't have won that ball game. Correct me if I'm wrong with the game.
It was Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Milwaukee. Okay, yeah. Antetokounmpo steps out of bounds. The referee was right there on the line. Doesn't call it out of bounds. Milwaukee ends up winning the ball game. You're an NBA official. I mean, we can criticize him. You're an NBA official. You cannot miss that call. Officiating, I think it's becoming worse in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They don't want to. I think they're scared to miss calls now, especially with these big-time superstars like LeBron James, Steph Curry, James Harden. I don't know. I think they have to go back to class to fix this and actually call the right calls.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what if Milwaukee were to get in to the 8th seed by 1 game.
That would
and
have been.
You look back at that game, and you can see
yeah.
on every video, every angle that he was out of bounds. And it's stuff like that that can ruin a season for a team. And if it's the ref's fault, they should be gone. I mean, you can't miss a call, especially like that. Like, you can get the debate between Kevin Durant and LeBron. I mean, that's different. But when the guy is cold, hard fact, out of bounds, yeah, you can't miss that.
And do you think there's kind of a bias against superstars like LeBron James, where officials don't really want to call fouls on those guys, or they do want to call fouls on those guys that puts them into foul trouble, and you don't see them as much? Because LeBron James, he's been one of the most iconic players to give his voice on this topic.
I honestly think they make them play through tougher situations, the superstars. LeBron, his whole career, I feel like, has been hacked and has had a lot of missed calls, and it's not right. I mean, every player should be called the same way.
Right, I totally agree. And another player is Draymond Green, that he has been having it with officials his entire career. He is a little more of a rough player, more of an aggressive player. He said that fixing officiating should be the NBA's main priority, and the NBA and Referees Association have already said that they're in talks about it. Do you think this is a step forward, or do you think this is just going to be something that they say they're talking about, but really you don't see anything happen?
I don't say this very often. I don't usually agree with what Draymond says or does, but I have to agree with them. I mean, that should be the top priority, the way this season especially has been going. And for them to say, they can say all they want, but you got to see actions. Actions speak louder than words. So until they start putting something to action, it's not a step forward. It's just going to keep staying the same.
We'll talk about the actual ball game between the Cavaliers and the Warriors coming up, but with the rivalry being renewed again Monday night on MLK Day. But another off the court topic going on right now in the NBA, and this has been continuing since last season in free agency, and Lavar Ball going after Los Angeles Lakers head coach Luke Walton, saying that he doesn't have control of the team anymore. Players aren't responding to him, and that's the reason why the Lakers have been losing consecutive games, 8 to 10 games in a row that they have lost. Now, Lavar Ball, 2 of his sons aren't even in the country. One of them is old enough. He's a professional basketball player in the NBA, where usually you don't hear players' fathers talking for them. What's going on right now between Lavar Ball and the Lakers?
Well, Lavar needs to just be quiet. I mean, let his son play basketball. Lonzo's handling this perfectly,
yeah.
Keeping his mouth shut, being humble. He's starting to play some good ball. He's starting to become the prospect that everybody thought he would be. It's not Luke Walton at all. The players even talked about it. I mean, it's just a young team. Yeah. Give 2 or 3 years, maybe a big free agent signing like Paul George or LeBron James if he wants to leave Cleveland again. One big signing, and this team's in the playoffs. I mean, this team in 2 to 3 years without a big signing could be good with the youth. I mean, they all have the potential to be superstars with Kuzma, Ball, Ingram. So it's just the youth. I mean, the Celtics, we talk about youth, but they have Kyrie and Horford with that veteran presence. This team is literally 1 through 12 youth. And Lavar just needs to stay out of it. Luke Walton knows what he's doing. He coached the Warriors to a 73-win season, and I don't think it's him at all.
I love Luke Walton's response to Lavar Ball calling him out in the press conference after the game. After Lavar Ball made those comments, Lonzo Ball obviously wasn't shooting the ball well. He couldn't hit a 3 to save his life, so Walton, being a coach, takes him out, puts in another guy that that could probably help the offense a little more. And they ask him about, did taking Lonzo out have anything to do with LaVar Ball's comments, and Walton said, yeah, he was talking you-know-what about me, and so I took him out. Said he was kidding, but I honestly don't think he was kidding. Walton I think he has to step up for himself here. He's the coach. Let's take handle of this team. We can get better. Do you think he made the right choice doing that?
I mean, you could look at both sides. Lonzo was shooting very poorly. But, I mean, LaVar said he doesn't have control of this team, so maybe this was his way of saying, hey, I have control. Your son's not shooting, so I'm going to take him out and put someone in that can perform for this team.
Now, LaVar, he's, I don't know how you silence him. LA kind of has a problem right now with a father talking smack about their head coach. But, Lavar Ball, he's ruling the basketball world in America, ruling the basketball world in Lithuania. Do you think this is just going to continue? Do you think this is going to affect the NBA? Because people are comparing him to the Kardashians now.
That's awful. You can't silence him, obviously. First Amendment says so. But
we don't want to get into politics anymore.
But Lakers need to start doing something. They need to maybe say, you're not allowed in the stadium until you fix your ways. Let your son be your son. Don't be your son's voice. Let him talk for himself. I'm sure all the players around the league are getting sick and tired of it as well. It's not just us or it's not just the Lakers. LeBron, for all we know, could be sick and tired of LaVar talking, or KD, or even, anyone. And you see it. Everyone's commenting on it, from Barkley to O'Neal. It's becoming a joke, and it's hurting Lonzo in the long run. Lonzo's, like I said earlier, is handling it exactly right. Stay quiet. Don't say anything on top of it.
Yeah.
But to turn the basketball world into the Kardashians, that's
when they're already in the basketball world.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
Tristan Thompson,
LaVar just needs to grow up.
It's something new to the NBA. It's new waters for the league. They've never really had to deal with something like this before, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when it doesn't even look like the Lakers are going to make the playoffs this year. It'll be a miracle if they even do that. So will be something we'll keep our eye on and interesting to talk about in basketball. But let's move our focus now towards the huge game Monday night. We're filming this on, January 12th. January 15th will be the rematch between the Cavaliers and the Warriors. This time it will be at Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland. So the home court advantage will go to the Cavaliers' way. But game one went to the Warriors in a game where Klay Thompson, they were without Steph Curry at that point. Kevin Durant was shooting the ball well. Game one between the Cavaliers and Warriors was a contested battle, but it looked like Golden State just had momentum the whole game.
You're definitely right, and the problem was the Cavs shooting. You look at the three-point percentage, and it's out of this world. They shot the lights out, and that's the reason they were 7 points away from winning. They shot awful. I've never seen so many missed layups. There were 28 of 88 overall, and 15 of those were three-pointers. 32%. You got to make the easy shots.
Exactly.
And that's why they lost. 32%. If they make 40%, they win by 10, if not more. And that's why the Cavs lost. You got to see better shooting from the Cavs this Monday if you want to get the win.
And we definitely saw a new team in Golden State. Kevin Durant was running all over the floor against the Cavaliers with their fast breaks, and Klay Thompson got hot shooting. Draymond Green was even effective at times. But how do you stop that offense of Golden State? We've been seeing this the past 3 years. Cavaliers get within 2 or 1 points with a huge three, but then on the other end, Golden State, they hit a three ball. They get a defensive stop and then go ahead hit another three ball, and then it feels like you're down 15, 20 points again. How do you even stop that?
You got to play the matchups right. They all say he's not a good defensive player, but I think him and Curry is a good matchup because they're both just those quick, short ball handlers who like to shoot. And so I think that's going to be a good matchup if IT were to play. You got to keep LeBron and Durant together, obviously. You can't have anyone else guard Durant. It's going to be a bad day all around. Love and Draymond is a good matchup. The Warriors don't have that amazing of a center, so Thompson or Fry, whoever you have out there, it's usually going to be a good matchup. And at the shooting guard position, that's where we lack. J.R. Smith isn't the best defender. He can defend at moments, but he's that shooting guy. So this is where Dwayne Wade needs to step up and guard Klay Thompson, and you need your bench to really come in clutch with the defense like Jay Crowder has been all season long.
Yeah, Jay Crowder, he impressed me in that matchup against the Warriors. He was a defensive presence. He could see a little different defense coming from the Cavaliers just because of Crowder being out there. But you mentioned it, Thomas against Curry. We didn't see that in Game 1. We could see that in Game 2 this week. But the thing is, Cavaliers, after that loss at Golden State on Christmas Day, they then went and lost the next two against Sacramento and Utah, and since then they've lost 7 of their last 10, with losses coming against Boston up in Massachusetts. They lost up in Minnesota against a very good T-Wolves team, and then lost in Canada against the Raptors just yesterday. They take on the Pacers tonight, which should be a win, but they are playing in Indiana. That's never an easy place to win for the Cavaliers. LeBron James just usually doesn't have a lot of success in Indianapolis. Will, what's your thoughts on this Cavs team right now? They have Thomas back. They're pretty much healthy, except for Rose. But going into Monday's game, do you think this streak of losses plays a role in Monday's game?
We talked about it a little bit before the show. The turnover of the year, it's always a little struggles for the Cavs. Tonight is a statement game. They need to win, and I think they need to win big. I want them to come. They really need to just come out and win by like 20.
Right. There you go.
You need LeBron, triple-double maybe. Just tell everybody that just because you lost 7 of your last 10 doesn't mean you're not the best team in the East. And they really need it going into the Warriors game. I mean, you can't go into a game against the Golden State Warriors 3-8 in your last 11 games. It's just not going to end up good for you. So tonight's a big game for them. It may not seem that big of a game because it's January 12th and they're in the 3rd seed, but it is a big game tonight.
Yeah, and they've lost their last 2 losses, margin of loss 25+. And I saw a statistic, no team in the history of the NBA has won the finals during a season they've lost back-to-back games by 25 points. That's a little interesting to know about a LeBron James team. LeBron James is this is uncharted waters for him as well. Mm-hmm. Really hasn't had this happen with his team before, but we did see last night he was getting on his team. He was yelling at the guys that were on the floor at that point, and I think Dwayne Wade was right by his side. So peanut butter jelly, do you think hopefully they can cook it up a little bit now?
Tonight I'd like to see it, but I would love to see it against Golden State. Yeah. I mean, just some alley-oops to LeBron and some great passing between the two. And between the team, I mean, you got to get the ball around. We talked about LeBron James losing. No team has ever, you just said no team has ever lost when losing by 25+. But I also saw this fact that every year Alabama has won the national championship, LeBron has won the finals. So some streak's going to end. Either the Cavs will be the first team to ever lose by 25 and win the finals, or Alabama's first championship without a LeBron hoisting the trophy as well.
No team ever came back down 3-1 in the finals to win, but James made that happen as well. So
because Alabama won.
It happens, if you're a conspiracy theory guy, you can follow that all day.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, Cavaliers will look to do some home cooking here this next week. They host the Warriors and then host the Magic and then host the Thunder before going to the Spurs. So some tough games coming up. The Spurs, they're just playing San Antonio basketball. Greg Popovich just has those guys winning as usual. San Antonio, nothing to talk about right now until the playoffs. They're just taking care of business.
They could have a team full of Patty Mills and they'd still be a 3 seed. I don't know what Popovich does, but whatever he does, it's working. He could have a team full of me's.
Exactly.
And they'd still be a playoff team.
He's like Nick Saban of basketball. Put in your backup quarterback and win a national championship.
Exactly.
Unbelievable what San Antonio's doing. So that'll wrap things up here in episode 1 of Full Court Talk. We'll hopefully have an episode every week recapping the week of NBA basketball. And like I mentioned before, pretty soon we'll be talking about college basketball as the conference tournaments cook up, and then we're on to March Madness, and that is one heck of a tournament to just analyze and talk about here on Full Court Talk. So everyone stay safe out there in the treacherous winter weathers. From Will Brienza, I'm Brendan DeVenney. Have a good night, everybody.